In this video, I'm going to show you my top 10 shortcuts and strategies in Mario Kart Deluxe. So each entry on this list is going to get a score out of 15, and I'll be splitting the point accumulation into 3 different criteria: how difficult the shortcut is, how enjoyable it is to execute it, and how rewarding it feels making it. So just because one shortcut is super difficult, that doesn't mean it's guaranteed a top 3 spot. I'll also go over how to execute each shortcut and strategy in case you quite can't get it down to a science. But with that being said, let's start giving her, bud. At number 10, we have the Ice Outpost Double Cut. It earns a score of 7 out of 15, 1 out of 5 for difficulty, 4 out of 5 for enjoyment, and 2 out of 5 for how rewarding it feels. As you can probably tell, I like this shortcut quite a bit. The difficulty is definitely on the lower end, but consistently doing this like it's another day in the office, especially while front running, just feels great for some reason. It definitely starts off this list well, given that most of the shortcuts and strategies in this game are really boring. But in any case, this shortcut is pretty simple to execute. You want to release your orange mini turbo before you get into the first shortcut. After this is nothing too fancy, just getting 2 tricks off the 2 ramps, and when you land, you're doing one of 2 things. You'll either just drive into it and begin your drift when you land in the cut, or you'll begin your drift as soon as you land from the first cut. From here, charge up a regular mini turbo and release it as you go off the first ramp into a normal trick as you exit the double cut. But yeah, this one really isn't anything too special in terms of how difficult or rewarding it is, but consistently executing it just feels right. Point blank period. Number 9 is the beginning Toad Harbor Grass Cut. This one also gets a score out of 7 out of 15, but for me, it just barely edges out the Ice Outpost Double Cut. It gets a 3 out of 5 for difficulty, a 2 out of 5 for enjoyment, and a 2 out of 5 for how rewarding it feels. This shortcut is cool, but honestly, it just looks boring. At first, it looks stupidly easy. Just hop before the grass and you're giving her. But it can be really annoying when you barely clip the off-road and lose all of your speed. This is why I don't necessarily enjoy it as much as the Ice Outpost Double Cut. But regardless, the most consistent method I was able to get the hang of is as follows. You want to approach the grass cut as tight as possible. You'll cut off the most amount of off-road this way, but you'll also have a lesser chance of clipping the off-road. Now, just before I hop, I like to hold my stick to the left and then perform a left hop. I don't know what it is, but I feel like I'm way more consistent when I execute the shortcut this way rather than doing a neutral hop. So yeah, this shortcut is pretty tight for not looking too fancy. I originally wasn't even going to put this on the list, but you do have some other options to approach the shortcut. You can take the grass cut on the left side of the crate, but I believe it loses about 0.2. I could be wrong on that, just so you're aware. But the main reason why I put it at number 9 was because of the super mini turbo method. I believe it's barely slower, but what makes this one shine to me is that even if you clip the off-road, the boost from the super mini turbo will limit a ton of the damage done. But yeah, all things considered, I think the shortcut as a whole is pretty solid. Coming in at number 8 is the Tock Clock Ending Cut. We're moving on up with this one as this shortcut gets a score of 8 out of 15, 2 out of 5 for difficulty, 4 out of 5 for enjoyment, and 2 out of 5 for how rewarding it feels. This shortcut is a lot of fun to pull off and is a big reason why people strongly consider picking this track when starting in first. It's not too difficult, but it can be easy to fail, and at a solid pace, you can take this shortcut on all 3 laps. I'll talk about how to do it on lap 1 though, since that's the most important time to take the shortcut. Once you take the second coin, hold right as you're drifting left. Now, you probably won't notice this while executing the shortcut, but if you're just learning it, you want to begin holding a tight left drift as you approach this diamond. From here, perform a left hop just as you're about to leave the road, and perform a right hop as soon as you're on the hand. After that, it's pretty straightforward. Just trick off the ramp and position yourself to drift left as you land back on the track. Like I said earlier, you could take this shortcut on lap 2 and 3 if it's available to you, but it's often frowned upon unless you're really consistent at it and know you'll make it given your pacing, namely lap 2. That's the hardest one to make. But altogether, I like this shortcut quite a bit. It's not too easy, but can be done like it's another day in the office, and it's fun to do as well. And at number 7, we have the Yoshi Circuit beginning Shroomless Cut. Oh boy. This shortcut gets a score of 9 out of 15, 5 out of 5 for difficulty, 1 out of 5 for enjoyment, and 3 out of 5 for how rewarding it feels. So why do I not enjoy the shortcut at all? I had 25 minutes of recording for this one shortcut. This one mini shortcut that barely ever gets used because it's so goddamn hard. Just like the Toad Harbor beginning grass cut, this one looks so easy. Just hop twice, trick, and win, forehead. Unbelievable. I don't think I'm at all qualified to tell you how to make this shortcut, but whatever, here goes nothing. You want to aim for the center of the waterfall in your right drift, and when you hit the center of the road as shown here, perform a left hop immediately into a neutral hop into a trick. I don't even know if this is the best way to do it. I'm just basing it off the one successful attempt I made in 25 minutes. See, I was planning on not even including this on my list, but honestly, I just have to give it up to people who can even somewhat consistently make this shortcut. I think I'd put it at around number 7 if I were better at this shortcut, so there you go. I'm not going to let my trash performance at this shortcut take it off the list. So yeah, I don't like this shortcut, but it's probably just because I'm not good at it at all. But it is what it is. This beast still deserves a spot on my list. Moving on to number 6, the Bone Dry Dunes Glider Strat. This strat also gets a score of 9 out of 15, getting a 2 out of 5 for difficulty, a 3 out of 5 for enjoyment, and a 4 out of 5 for how rewarding it feels. What makes this one unique is that the game actually gives you a reward, that being an item box that you can't get if you take the regular path. And imagine if you take this in the pack lap 3. If someone pulls triple greens next to you, you'll be chilling for a good chunk of time. You want to position yourself toward the double box at the item set. Even if you don't get the double box here, you'll still get a box on the top path if you get there. As you go off the glider, just let go of your stick. This is crucial as you'll get a lot more height than you normally do. I like to wait roughly until the character's head is between the 2 teeth before positioning myself to land on the top path. And yeah, once you land, you should be giving her full throttle. This glider strat is a ton of fun to do online and definitely gives you some breathing room if you find yourself in the middle of the pack. I'd absolutely recommend learning this to use more regularly. Starting off the top 5, we got the Dragon Driftway Gap Cut. This shortcut pulls off a score of 10 out of 15, 2 out of 5 for difficulty, 5 out of 5 for enjoyment, and 3 out of 5 for how rewarding it feels. This one feels the most like a shortcut from Mario Kart Wii, which is pretty sick because generally there isn't a lot of depth in this game's shortcuts. It's also just a really cool shortcut in general and feels great to make. This is definitely a more complex shortcut for someone who's learning about it for the first time though. You want to begin by releasing your Ultra Mini Turbo and executing a left slide here. You're doing this to give yourself more opportunity to charge another Ultra Mini Turbo to make the shortcut as easy as possible. So from here, begin a right drift. At this rate, you just want to do whatever you can to stay as tight as possible while charging up your Ultra Mini Turbo. When you're able to release your Ultra Mini Turbo after the turn, you want to immediately do 2 left hops and then a right soft drift before the ledge. As soon as you have a Mini Turbo, release it and do a right hop and you should be good to go. Some of this might not make a whole lot of sense if you're unfamiliar with this game's mechanics, but if you're interested in a more in-depth tutorial on this shortcut, check out my man Kyle's video on Mario Kart Cinema. I'll have a link in the description. By the way, don't watch my videos on that channel. But all things considered, this is a very fun shortcut to pull off, and when you're able to do it online like it's another day in the office, it feels so nice. At number 4, we have the Mario Kart Stadium Glider Cut. This chat of a shortcut gets a score of 11 out of 15, accumulated from a 2 out of 5 for difficulty, a 5 out of 5 for enjoyment, and a 4 out of 5 for how rewarding it feels. This shortcut just feels incredible every time you pull it off, regardless of whether you do it with shrooms or shroomless, and it easily earns a spot in my top 5 shortcuts and strategies. The shortcut really begins when you commit to holding your Ultra Mini Turbo after the turn before the glider. You want to hold right roughly after the turn before the glider and keep it that way until you're just about to go off the glider. Now this part is really important. You need to hit the wall while on the glider ramp. If you hit the wall any earlier, I think it's a guarantee that you'll lose your Ultra Mini Turbo. But in any case, you use this to give yourself enough speed on the glider to make the shortcut worth it. From here, just let the game release release your ultra mini turbo and pop out your glider for you and hold back in the air. There's not really much else to talk about regarding how to execute the shortcut at this point. Just make sure to position yourself as tight as possible to the wall without going out of bounds, and you'll land right after passing the off-road. This shortcut is a ton of fun to do online, especially if you're front running. Once you master this shortcut, you'll want to do it all the time because it feels that good. And beginning my top 3, we got the GBA Mario Circuit glider cut. This shortcut actually obtained the same score, like exactly, as the Mario Kart Stadium glider cut, even in the criteria. I love both of these shortcuts, but I decided to give this one the edge simply because there's just a bit more going on. As for the shortcut itself, I've always found it so thrilling to execute. It's a bit technical, but also quite precise, and utilizing it feels so nice. On the turn before the grass cut, you only want to charge a regular mini turbo. Releasing a super mini turbo before the shortcut will do you absolutely no good. Now, in order to use your mushroom to the best of its ability, you need to wait until you land in the off-road. You'll get a very minimal amount of air by drifting into the off-road, so once you land, that's your cue to shroom before the off-road makes you lose your drift. From here, you want to go in between these two trees while charging up a super mini turbo and release it into a left hop just before driving into the grass. At this point, as long as you have a solid amount of air, this shortcut is a piece of cake. Position yourself to land on the blocks and begin a left drift as you land. You'll drop back onto the main road on the final straight, and you'll simply release another regular mini turbo. I kind of made this out to be a rather complex shortcut, and it definitely can be if you've never done it before, but once you get the hang of it, it's really simple. I think for as long as I'm playing this game, this shortcut will always remain as one of my absolute favorites. And barely missing the #1 spot is the Shy Guy Falls ending shroomless cut. This one gets a score of 12 out of 15, obtained from a 5 out of 5 for difficulty, a 3 out of 5 for enjoyment, and a 4 out of 5 for how rewarding it feels. Even though I don't enjoy this one as much as the last few I mentioned, it's still an awesome shortcut. And unlike the Yoshi Circuit shroomless shortcut, since these two both earned a 5 out of 5 in difficulty, this one actually feels sick to make. Now, I'm not the greatest at this shortcut, so I could get this brief tutorial wrong, but we work with what we got. You want to position yourself to trick off the ramp while collecting the very right coin, and when you land, that's when you begin a right drift. From here, you want to position yourself to do a left hop while being just to the right of the weeds. As you're about to hit the off-road, execute a left hop. As I said, you'll get a solid amount of height, and from there you trick off the ramp and you're giving her. I should reiterate though, this is a very hard shortcut to pull off consistently. I wouldn't recommend doing this in a race unless you're genuinely a god at this shortcut and very rarely miss it. But either way, I really like the challenge this shortcut brings to the table. It can get annoying when you consistently fail it, but other than that, this is a great shortcut and absolutely deserves its spot here at #2. It is my favorite shortcut though, so let's talk about my favorite strategy in Mario Kart Deluxe, also known as the #1 spot. And my favorite strategy in Mario Kart Deluxe and the #1 spot on this list goes to the Dolphin Shoals glider strat. This one also obtains a score of 12 out of 15, getting a 2 out of 5 for difficulty, a 5 out of 5 for enjoyment, and a 5 out of 5 for how rewarding it feels. I give this the #1 spot over the Shy Guy Falls ending shroomless cut because the only thing holding this strat back is the difficulty, since it isn't that hard after you learn it. But outside of that, I absolutely adore this strat. It feels so thrilling the whole way through, especially because it was only initially possible on 200cc. I could go on all day about how this strat is a masterpiece, but I've already been giving her full throttle throughout this entire video. Besides, you probably don't care. But anyways, this is how you do it with one mushroom. You want to execute a right drift just before hitting the glider ramp. And once your glider pops out, you just want to primarily hold back while also holding to the left as well. A second or two after popping out your glider, use your shroom while holding your stick in the same direction. With only one shroom, you want to make sure you're in the middle of the road while airborne. Otherwise, you'll probably land early. But after that, you should be good to go. Hop in the water and the finish line is right in front of you. I don't know if any shortcut or strategy ever found in this game will ever be able to top this one for me. I honestly can't believe in my glider strats video, I said my favorite was the Cloud Top Cruise glider strat. It is genuinely mind-boggling to me looking back. This one is absolutely incredible all around. Yeah, there's not much else to say here. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. And let me know in the comments what your favorite shortcuts and strategies are. I actually hope you disagree with my list because it would be awesome to talk about these very few 6 strats the game has to offer. It's a shame that there aren't more shortcuts and strategies like this, but you work with what you got. But regardless, thank you so much for watching. Have yourselves a fantastic day and keep on giving her, bud.